hoping to actually do this maybe on a monthly basis or figure that out, to kind of just talk about specifics of what's unique to us Canadians here, right? Because in the US, you know, if you're on the mastermind, you hear like everybody's talking about HomeBot, everybody's talking about this, everybody's talking about that. And so there's some of the things that are not available to us Canadians, but there are things we can do. There's also some things that are unique to us here. And we kind of want to dive a little bit deeper into those things to make sure that everybody has a better understanding of what we can kind of do in Canada that's, you know, without some of those other services, which is kind of a good thing. All right, we got Marcus and I right here.
Yo, yo.
Did you get all the lumber sorted out there, Marcus?
I'm trying to. There's like, yeah, that's why I'm eating myself. We're doing some renovations in the back, guys, so I'm trying to tune in and out.
How Canadian is that? Starting a Canadian call with, did you get the lumber delivered, eh?
Yeah, right?
How's your coffee going?
Exactly.
You got a beer crock there, Marcus, or what?
Yeah.
Canadian?
Yeah.
You should see it. We're making kind of a yurt style project in the backyard in the corner. It's a tent that's going to be built on a deck, and then there's this little suspension bridge that's connected to an outdoor bathroom as well. So it's pretty exciting. Vancouver Island, by the way, in case you're wondering.
New address. So who do we have here? Dale, Joel, Steve, where are you all coming from?
I'm in Toronto.
I'm coming from Vancouver.
Toronto, Vancouver,
Hamilton,
Hamilton.
just outside of Toronto.
Okay. So we did this powwow. We were really good at putting it up, and then we weren't as good as promoting it to get as many people to it. But we felt like we've been seeing the masterminds. The US has some pretty cool tools that we don't have. So we felt like it would be valuable to get our community together, and maybe this is the first one we'll test it out and see. But just to share like what we're doing as a Canadian population to work with it. In terms of CMAs, in terms of services like HomeBot, what are you doing in place of that? What are tools do we have that we can use, that we can lean on to go from there? So what should we do, Troy? Should we let them lead it? Does any of you want to share or want to start on the topic of CMAs in terms of what you're doing? Are a lot of you running the seller ad templates?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, and does anybody feel like they've dialed in on their CMA process and are feeling good about it and want to share what they're doing?
Yeah,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, I do a letter. I do a quick CMA about 3 different properties that are comparable. And for the address only, I do the same thing I would do for an email, just I have to go to Staples to get it printed in color and then go to the post office and send it out with my card. The only thing different is they have my physical card with them. Okay. I think I'm in I'll be starting my second week on Thursday, and I had my trial. And I'm over 90 together with email and addresses. I'm closing in on 100. I've had a couple of people. One lady, she has 2 homes, so I did the first home, and then she asked me to do her second home, and she's going to decide. She says she's going to sell in late July or August, and she's got me in mind. I'm keeping in touch, and she's just not sure which home she's going to sell. I think she's going to sell one and keep one. So pretty good response. Pretty good. I haven't got anything yet, but I've got some good contacts.
So that's your address onlys. You're sending them a letter with a comparable on it. Are you doing that for your emails as well, or are you just doing that for address onlys?
Same thing. Same thing. I send out an email, and then I send out a letter. And it's a letter I copied. I forget who it was from, but it's one of the ones they use in the States, I guess.
Okay.
And I tweaked it a little bit. And in the letter, I put I give a range of about anywhere from 30 to 50,000 because I haven't seen the home, right? Yeah. And I want them to maybe get more precise by calling me in. So I do the same thing. I send the letter and the comps to email, and then I print it and put it in an envelope and send it out to address only.
Okay, cool.
I haven't done any follow-up yet because, like I say, I'm only two weeks into it.
Yeah.
So I haven't decided how I'm going to follow up yet.
Okay, cool. So Dale, you were going to share on what you're
Yeah,
doing.
it's like Steve got into my head there and said exactly the same thing. Yeah, for address only, I kind of created my own little template. I tweaked the dialogue a little bit from some of the posts I saw from some of our American colleagues. So yeah, and I'm up around 100 as well, 100 potentials, but it's the conversion, I guess, that's not happening. And I don't know if it's because of COVID or Toronto is just such a huge market and there's so much competition here. Yeah. And as far as my CMAs, like when they give me my email, when they give an email, I basically do the same thing. You know, I give them a range of things. I reference a couple of comps without giving specifics. You know, you want to bait them a little bit, but yeah.
Are you guys using BombBomb or video or anything like that?
Yeah, I'm definitely using BombBomb. I actually love it. So I say, hi, how are you? Blah, 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 whatever it is. And then I put the video and then the body of the email, right? Because if you want it right in the center. So yeah, and it usually ranges between 35 and 50 seconds of video. And, you know, I make sure I personalize it. So I say, hi, I use their name, I use their address, you know, just so they know it's not some auto-generated generic video that I'm sending to everyone. So
and what are you doing in the video?
Pardon me?
What are you doing in the video?
It's just me here at my desk, and I usually just say, like, you know, for example, God, I don't know what it is, but it's like, hey, it's Dale. I'm replying to your Facebook email. I finished with your evaluation. It didn't take me long, and it's right here below this video. Have a look at it, and I talk about, you know, it's just a range of prices. If they want something more specific, I'd be happy to meet with them, or video or whatever, you know, basically just trying to get them to show me their place. I reiterate my email address or my phone number or whatever, and just leave it at that. So it's pretty short, but I try to keep it as
I got a quick question for you, Dale.
and smiley as possible. So.
What would you say, like for anybody doing video, especially for anybody doing CMAs, what is the average amount of time you spend on your physical CMA?
For me, it's I'm not doing the MLS CMA where I'm jigging all the numbers and, like, you know, because those can take 35, 45 minutes sometimes. So for me, I'm going into the MLS listings, and I'm bringing up 3 or 4 comps that have recently sold or are currently on the market, kind of doing an average price, and then I'm going to the Toronto market stats, and I'm looking at that zone and seeing what the average and the median price are for that area, and then I'm kind of then jigging the numbers there and trying to coming up with an assessment. I go to Geo Warehouse as well, just to see the location and the actual owner, but the assessed value on Geo Warehouse is usually 100,000, you know, or more less than the actual market value. So I don't find Geo Warehouse very helpful, other than actually finding the name of the owner, because that's the only way I found in Canada that you can find the owner's name.
Well, I mean, the reason I ask is because the one comment that I used to get quite frequently when I used to like doing CMAs, I'm somewhat analytical, and for whatever reason, I actually kind of enjoyed it. So I'd sit there, and if I had, you know, 10 follow-ups to do in a day, okay, well, I'm not spending 15 minutes to half an hour on a CMA. But you get those days where you have a little bit of extra time. It's like, you know what, I'm going to nail these CMAs today. I'm going to really, you know, knock it out of the park. And I'd spend all this time, I'd bring them to these people and see their faces when they'd look at them. And I'd try to pretty it up and make it nice. But there's a lot going on a lot of those papers. So 2 tips. First, consider if you are sending in the mail, like if you're sending a physical CMA, be sure to highlight the key points, because it's very much like when you're looking at an ad. If there's 2 lines I need to read, I might read them. If there's 2 paragraphs, I'm not even starting, right? So if you give me a document that I don't understand, and again, we as realtors look at those documents and go like, oh, I know exactly what that is. Median price, I know what median price means. I know exactly what this is, right? Because we're familiar with it. But coming from the the general public, you have to understand, you look at that document, you don't even know where to start.
Right. Exactly.
So, you know, me spending 15 minutes on a CMA that you're going to look at and it's going to do nothing but confuse you moves us further away, right? So consider something like this. You can strip down your sequence a little bit, do a lot of what you're doing, but provide it in a digital format. Do a virtual CMA where instead of spending, you know, 15 minutes pulling comps, doing all this stuff, find one recently sold comp, one currently listed comp. That's it. And really the performance is exactly that. It's a performance. It's more you delivering them valuable information as opposed to them having to read and absorb whatever they can. It's you just simply saying, hey, I pulled up your, and obviously you're doing on BombBomb, do a screen record. Yeah. Right. So you've got their MLS. You're saying you're not really doing it on MLS so much, but you know, you're not.
Well, I'm not using the CMA structure on MLS. I'm pulling the figures, but like I said in that letter I showed you, I'm not bombarding them with information at all. It's just like, hi, how are you? This is your property. This is the price. Love to see your house. If you know, and that's it. It's pretty much that short. It's not bombarding.
Consider doing it this way, where you basically bring up their MLS card from when they first purchased the property, and you use that first screen to identify the fact that there's missing information there right away, first and foremost. In other words, you know, I'd love to be able to provide you an accurate and honest assessment as to what your home may sell for. However, as you can see, the information that I'm going to be relying on is perhaps a little bit out of date. Sure. And start clicking through some of the photos from when they bought the home 8-10 years ago. You know, and you can start by saying, you know, this is the information I'm going to be relying on. However, I'm sure you've done a lot of great work to this property, and I'd love to get my eyes on it so that I can factor in, you know, some of the renovations into your finished price. However, in the meantime, until we get there, I want to start you off with this, right? Here's a home that's just like yours. It's got 3-bed, 2-bath, in-ground saltwater pool, whatever it is. And it recently sold for $849,000. Here's another one recently listed. It's similar to yours in this way and this way, and it's, you know, listed at $932, whatever it might be. You're showing some variance. And again, these prices don't necessarily tell me what your home may sell for, but it gives us a starting point. And that's all this is a starting point. In order for me to give you a true and honest, accurate valuation and my professional expertise, I will need to get my eyes on your property. Now, we can do this one of two ways. You know, I can either show up at your home and give you a proper valuation, or we could start with a quick phone call or Zoom meeting. You choose what's best for you, move forward, right? But you can, if you have that process dialed in and you bring up your screen record, you should be able to bring up MLS, have like their contact card, those 2 comps. You can have that whole thing nailed in 3 minutes. And again, it's more of the delivery. It's more of a performance piece. It's more, I'm a real person who has real information. And I'm just here giving it to you. Right? And you're taking these people from that completely unknown into, hey, this is somebody who's actually doing something for me. This is my house. This is my neighbor's house. This is somebody who lives in my area as comps, right? It shows you've done more work. It's a lot more dynamic, and I feel you'll get better responses.
Well, and you have BombBomb, so it would be interesting to take the video that you're sending now, which is basically like an introduction to the comp, which is below to the property evaluation, and then now do a video where you're sharing your screen on BombBomb, taking them through a virtual CMA, and then seeing the open rate, see if it changes. Because if you send me a video that's got your face in the corner, my house is like front and center when I open the email, I'm going to click to play it. So it'd be interesting to see if those open rates and those plays increase because you added something of real value to them.
Here, I'll show an example here. I won't play the whole thing, but just to kind of give you an idea, I mean, Google Street View, pull up their property, because as I was just saying, this pops into my inbox and somebody's talking about my home, I'm going to pay attention. Right?
Especially this one where the person
There's a party
saw the
going on in
Google
the street
thing coming by.
Yeah, call it out. Is that you
It's in
flexing
front of
in
my
there?
house.
But you can,
Looks like your house is the party house on the block.
but you can call it out, be like, hey, I'm just putting together your home evaluation here. Just want to confirm that this is your property. Great neighborhood, nice home. I know there'd be a lot of interest on it. You know, you can pull up, like Logan was saying, you know, MLS or whatever. Here's the last information I have on your home. Just want to confirm if that's still accurate. It has it listed here for 3 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. just want to make sure you haven't done any recent renovations that would affect its value. And then, you know, walk through some comparables. So based on some comparables in the area, your home could be worth in the range of X to Y. You know, however, we can put together a more accurate evaluation if we do a quick walkthrough of your home. Just let me know when a good date and time is. You know, I'll bring by some Timmies.
And I think if you say like staggering the MLS, like going in and showing the value takes you 30 to some odd minutes, maybe that's your first offer. Think about these people as warm leads. Say, hey, you know what? It's easy for me to go in and make this a little bit more accurate without having to come over just yet. I can go in and tweak this, but it takes me a little bit more time. But if that's something that's really of interest to you and your timing is that, I'd love to go through and tweak this just a little bit more to see whether it's worth me coming over. So then that way it's a little bit more of a, I'm about conversation, I'm about you, I'm about offering you what you need right now, as opposed to I want in your house because I want to sell it, because I want to make this work. So I think if it does take you a little bit long, it's the same as with the HomeBot. They talk about showing them how they can move those reevaluation tools, and you can just move these and then I can confirm some of those values. So you can say, if you feel like this value is like way off, there are a couple things I can do with our current system to go in and maybe tweak it a bit to see if I can see, but it just takes me a little bit longer. And if you're really interested, then I have no problem doing that for you, and make that your call to action and your offer. Just bring the because it's all about how many conversations do we need. And most people need about 6 to 8 conversations to convert over. So it's really, how do I bridge this beginning video to the next conversation? That's the goal, is how do I get them further?
Or even ask them to send you, you know, if you do it that way, right? Be like, in further to tweak this, if you could send me a few photos of the interior of your home, that'll give me a good idea of what it looks like, right? What your, the current state is, right? That way it's like, they snap a couple quick photos on their phone and send them to you. And now you can now hone it in. Like it would be kind of interesting to go, okay, we're going from super broad range. I can bring it in. If you send me some more information, okay, we're gonna get it to here. Okay, are you liking more what that is? And then hopefully, you know, now they're like, yeah, you know what, I really do want to list. So let's lock in what it could actually be worth.
But how are you guys getting engagement on your, like, what kind of engagement are you getting on your emails out and your, because I find that, like, we're doing all this work. I'm actually doing the CMA and sending it out to them, giving them a ballpark range. And then I'm just saying for an accurate price evaluation, I just have to come by for 15 minutes and drop by and have a look at the house, right? So I'm getting a lot of pushback or not even response to like I'm trying to follow up, and then they're like, oh, not at this time, thanks, you know, kind of thing, right? So where do you guys figure that we can kind of ramp it up so that I get a little bit more response back?
You got one?
Yeah, so response rate is something that it is always good to watch it and try changing your strategies, like taking some of the things we said here and see if you can increase your open rate. We find that response rate is different everywhere you're at. Like we were talking last week on the Mastermind about how there's just common courtesies that if you provide something for me, I say thank you. And some places are better than that. Like I would say, like I'm from Toronto, I would say Toronto, you're just busy in Toronto. There's a lot going on. It's a busy life. So if you send me a message, I tend to read it. I'm like, okay, I'll respond when that matters to me. So you don't always respond right away. So we automatically assume, because we're not getting a response, that the person's not interested. It just means it's not value to them at that time. They might have stored a little file in their brain that, you know, this is the person has helped me, I'm going to get back to this. So it's really about keeping up with the follow-up, knowing that they're eventually going to come back to it. There is, on the other end of things, yeah, there's a lot of value placed on not just sitting at your first messages that go out. Changing. Are you using video, Steve?
No.
No. So that would be a big change. Like if you're going to stick in my brain, like think of it as the next best thing. That like it's basically you coming and sitting at my kitchen table with your laptop and walking me through my home value. That's the closest we can get to doing that, is to do it virtually online. So you're starting to introduce the idea, hey, real person here. Hey, your tone of your voice, just your professionalism, the type of person you are comes across, and it starts lowering barriers. Like I noticed it even with StreetText trials. Like I had somebody I was having a hard time connecting with. She was kind of avoiding me a little bit. I friended her on Facebook. And last night I'm decorating for my son's, like we have 5 birthdays in the month of June. And I'm decorating for my son's birthday. And she loved my comment. And she said, she messaged me. She's like, I'm so sorry you're decorating for your son's birthday. And I've been messaging you like crazy. Like it just humanized it. She was like, Ira, this person that's been trying to reach out to me actually cares for me and wants to help me. He's a real person. So video, if you want to like move it to the next step, this is the next step. This is huge.
I've been trying to reach out like with the Facebook thing. I immediately go to Facebook, I search their name, I search their city, I try to find, I am finding, I'm connecting with very few people. I'm either not finding them or they do not respond, because unless you're friends, unless they take your friend request, that email is hidden in a, you know, another box that they don't see it until they accept your friend request, right? So they're not, it's, I don't know what it is. It's hidden conversation or something. I don't know what it is.
Message requests.
It's message requests, but yeah, yeah. So I'm having almost zero luck with connection on Facebook. So.
Yeah. And I think initially, if you start the videos and the emails, they get to see your face a little bit and they might be more open to the friend requests. You are in a bigger like GTA area. So depending on where people tend to shift around in the GTA. So that might be when you're doing the finding the person, if they've moved from like Scarborough and now they're a little bit over from Scarborough and they haven't changed it in their Facebook profile, they're not going to show up when you try to find them. So it might make it a little bit more difficult to find them with just a city and a name on Facebook.
Yeah.
Dale,
so maybe
it's Joel here.
I would say, Dale, make your automated video or your personal follow-up acknowledge that you're going to go reach out to them. Really point to it. Use screen recording. Show them, like, even in the beginning, your whole intention is to connect on Facebook. The message is going to be in the message request folder. You know, if you use the screen recording aspect of it, I always tell people your screen recording doesn't have to wait till your personal follow-up. It can be part of your autoresponders, showing them where you want to go, presenting them the way you want to go. Where that conversation is going to happen. So if you really emphasize that relationship on Facebook, show them the message request folder, and then drive it there and consistently do that, you're more likely to get that relationship.
Yeah, you can also, when you remember too, that if you sent a friend request and it's been a few days, you can cancel the friend request and then send it again, right? Yeah. And then it shows up in that notification.
So, and make that list. Make that list and go back to that list frequently, because you're going to have a percentage of those that don't get it. So you reinforce the request and the messages that always point back to Facebook. And if you're being authentic and genuine in your approach, it's going to happen. It just takes the right person to connect with you.
And I think we were talking about it the other day, especially us Canadians, like, let's be honest, us Canadians are a little bit more bent towards being polite. So if you've put some work into something, and you're trying to earnestly and honestly get that to me, I'm going to oblige and be like, oh, I'm sorry, you put some work into it. See, I used the word sorry. So if you reach out to them and say, hey, you provided this information, I'm not really sure that you've received it. So I've been working on it. And they're going to be like, oh, he's been working on it, and I haven't really reached out to him. So you kind of put it in their court. I've been working on it. I just wanted to make sure I got that information to you, and I was having a hard time connecting.
Yeah,
so if you
I have that as my day 3 follow-up.
Awesome.
Just making sure you got it. I hadn't heard from you. Just want to check in. Whatever it is. Yeah, I totally do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Even in the mail outs, when you send the mail outs and it's to an address only, maybe you're not providing a CMA. You just say, I'm working on preparing that, but I didn't have a contact to send it to.
Yeah.
So now obligated to respond to you.
Luckily with Geo Warehouse, you know, you can, everybody's familiar with Geo. Yeah. Right. No, maybe it's an Ontario thing. On the MLS listing, there's a little box above the listing and it says Geo Warehouse. And it basically takes you to something that ties into the land registry office that shows where the parcel of land is, and who the owner is. So when I get an address only, I go there and I can immediately find the owner of the house. So, but sometimes you find that the person making the request is not the owner of the house. So it's either a tenant who's probably living there, who's curious. So sometimes I'm loath to give out the information about, you know, what that home value is if it's just a renter or something, or I don't know.
I would always frame it too that even if that's the case, remember that that is somebody that is now in front of you that was never in front of you before. So
Yeah.
they could be a renter, but maybe now they're considering actually purchasing a home, right?
Yeah,
You
it
kinda
hasn't
wanna
stopped
know
me
what
from
it is.
sending it. I'm just like,
Yeah, perfect.
I'm trying to find a different way to word it, you know, because it's not
makes
their
sense.
home, right? So
Yeah, 100%.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so I've been working it for 3 weeks pretty diligently. I'm just going to set out my address onlys. I haven't done the video yet. I see it like a 12-month project now. Like my expectation isn't to get instant results here. You have to understand where the leads came from. It's a numbers game. If you're lucky and you hit somebody who's been in the market or is in the market to sell, I think that's a low percentage of these leads. So I'm lowering my expectations. I'm committed to the program, but I think that it's a long process.
yeah, it's definitely a marathon, not a sprint.
It's a marathon. This is a marathon.
Mhm.
I thought I would get instant results, but I'm not. I'm definitely raised my profile like crazy working this program. Like this program is really good for raising your profile. It's out there. People are seeing you.
It's
And it's a low cost way to do that. Okay.
it's
I totally
branding.
get that.
It's branding, right, Joel? But it's
Yeah.
not just branding. It's really intentionally and authentically setting out the relationship that you're willing to give without getting anything in return. And if you continue to press into that, you're going to see that there's some people going to naturally just come up because they appreciate it.
Stuff's going to come back.
Yeah, it
I
will.
mean, I know the
100%.
market. I know who's been on the market and who hasn't been on the market. Those people are touching me. People that have been around on the market, people I've seen before, they are touching me. But it takes time.
And you need to track it. You need to track the opens, track the interactions, track the, like the marketing assets part of StreetText. If you're getting someone that's constantly tuning in and you're getting a score of over 50, that's the people that you need to really proactively go after.
And I'm calling everybody and following them up. I hired somebody to call everybody. So I'm finding phone numbers for everybody. I'm working every lead, but it's going to take time.
You're doing the right activities. I mean,
Yeah,
that's that
and there'll be some
consistency is great.
miracles too. There will be miracles.
There will be. It just takes one person to receive a message. Don't ever neglect the personal follow-up and the whiteboard with the name on it. Like if you're doing BombBomb, do the personal touch, do the visual of their home. Like make them feel like you're talking to them. Like your automated stuff just does its thing when you can't be there, but don't neglect the personal follow-up and trying to really go after the question, the dialogue. You need to not just track the opens, but really go after some sort of dialogue, even if it's a one question answer.
How do you easily, what do you do to track the opens?
Well,
is it in the email? Is it where it says orange and then there's a little bracket with a number? Is that the?
Yes. So in the autoresponders, you track the opens when you go to emails and then track the numbers, and you can see which ones, like there's a percentage and it shows you who's actually been delivered to and who's opened it. But your personal,
I'll share that.
Your personal follow-up's different, right? Your personal follow-up, you're going to want to use something like the Chrome extension of BombBomb to track, or even BombBomb itself to track, because you can put tracking on it. So it's going to be different between what the system of StreetText tracks as opens and what you personally follow up. You want to make sure that your personal follow-up is also being tracked, if not the most important piece of it. Because then you can really, if you know your auto responder got opened, then you're more likely to get that second one that you personally follow up to be interacted with. If it hasn't been opened, then you need to go out there and try to send it from another source. Yo.
So going to the flyers that Dale's doing, do any of you guys are able to like find a program, because I thought I saw a QR code program where that they would scan the QR code and then we would get their info. Does anybody have anything like that where we can put that on the flyer and just if they scan it, we can get their info? Does anybody seen anything like that?
Mm-mm.
No, it was just have to reach out to them, the ones that don't have their info. Like,
Yeah, like I said, I guess Americans tend to go to the tax records. Geo Warehouse in Ontario tends to, give me all that information. And yeah.
I'm going to
I
show
have
you
another
something.
question.
Oh, go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody can answer this. I'm having a little concern. I have to get an opinion. In BC, we have something called the DORT, which you guys know what it is. I don't know if you have it in Ontario.
What's it
I
called?
don't
Sorry?
know, like it's a disclosure statement.
Okay.
Before we enter into a conversation with or give any information, we have to give a disclosure. So I'm having a little concern. I don't know if anybody's brought this up before. I'm got 100 letters going out to address onlys. I probably have to put some disclaimer in there. Do you guys have any feedback on that since you're in BC?
I have heard that I was talking to somebody else that was talking to me about that, kind of investigating it. I think it'd be good to powwow in the StreetText Insider group and say, who in BC like is familiar with this, and see what other realtors are doing and get familiar with what. And that's why we wanted to pull our Canadian people together too, so that you guys can cohort together on the best way to meet all the specifications in all of our provinces here in Canada, because it is different province to province and country to country, right?
I know for Ontario now, I know Steve's in Hamilton. He might be able to weigh in, but the only disclaimer that we have to put out is that you have to have, on any marketing thing, on any flyer, you have to have a disclaimer that says not intended to solicit buyers currently under contract. That's the only disclaimer that we're legally obligated to let people know. But I just assume that the privacy thing is assumed, if you're going to be sharing. I think
isn't the privacy, they've contacted you.
exactly.
So
Yeah, exactly. So it's almost the implied
we have a
contract
different
is
level
there.
here.
So
We have a different level.
yeah, I think
When
it's
when we're
province.
giving an opinion about value, we actually have to make a disclosure as to who we're acting for, or if we're not acting for anybody.
Yeah,
I actually need to get an opinion on that.
yeah.
Yeah, so I think
yeah.
the thing that Troy was going to show might be more helpful in BC, so you're avoiding that completely. So instead of giving a value to someone that just gave you an address and didn't submit their contact information, you reach out to them and say, hey, you started to request this, never got finished with it. I'd love to help you. So that's what Troy was going to share. So you just change how you're reaching out to them. So Troy, I'll let you cover that.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that Wendy put together. It's a postcard that she sends out. And what I really like about it is, well, first off, she uses the image off of her ad. So it does remind them of, something they clicked on, and nice and simple here. So thanks for inquiring about your home's value through my Facebook link, but we still need your email. And then she just calls out that she's putting together something for them. And then she handwrites in their address there, and that they can text or email. So you could put something like a bit of a disclosure in here as well if you did something like this, right? So you're not providing anything to them until you've actually had some sort of connection with them. And then, you can follow up with that. What I like about this is that you don't have to go to any great level of effort to put together a home evaluation for those address onlys. I always like to go, almost like to frame it, be like, well, if you're not going to give me the effort of giving me more contact information, well, then I'm going to hold back a little bit for you. Going to craft it so it sounds like I'm working on something for you. I've got it here. I'd like to get it in your hands, but we do need that contact information to get that into your hands. we do need to connect somehow. So if that's something you really want to see, let's take it to the next level. So now if you take it to that, if they reach out to you, well, now provide some sort of disclosure, right? On what you're providing them.
And that's that little bit of Canadian guilt on them too. Like you're saying, I'm working on it. Like I put it together. I just need this info. They're like, oh, I didn't know he was working on it. I didn't need to fill that out. Like I'm Canadian. Okay, I'll reply and let them know. But also the whole idea of retargeting, because someone's already clicked on your ad. Have you noticed this ever since you've been with StreetText? You've clicked on StreetText stuff. So how many people say, well, I'm seeing lots of other ads in my area that are StreetText. It's because you've been engaging with it. So Facebook has now kind of highlighted you. So even though some people have said, I've seen someone come through my ad twice, and it's because they've now clicked on it. Facebook's kind of captured them. So they're going to keep seeing that ad. So if they really are interested, they might come in again. And because you sent them a mailer, you've now put your face on that mailer again. And like I said to the guys here, we drive over the bridge here in Kelowna. There are 5 billboards for real estate agents. And I said, I wonder how those are working for them. Like in terms of like, and the comment that we hear a lot is like, well, people are always telling me they see them. And I'm like, yeah, well, the people are recognizing you. It's because they already know you that they're saying they see them. So you don't get seen until you're in front of somebody multiple times. So this is really about putting an action in place where you're just in front of them multiple times. So those increased exposure rates. Now I've seen you on Facebook. Now I've seen you in my mailbox. Oh, look, there you are on Facebook again. And as my timing starts to line up, you've become someone that's kind of just constantly in front of me. And that's what we love hearing, is somebody gets recognized in Home Depot because of their Facebook ads. Like they're saying, hey, I think I know you, you're a realtor, you're friends with so-and-so, I see you on Facebook all the time. So it's really about just keeping cognizant that this is about constantly keeping top of mind. And just because people aren't responding doesn't mean that they're not seeing you and all that. So the mailer is more about keeping them top of mind so that you can start conversation. So you might not provide a value. You might just send that little piece of Canadian guilt out. I'm doing this for you. I haven't been able to get it to you and I've been losing sleep over it because I'm so Canadian. I want to provide you with what you asked for.
I would even, and I say this a lot, especially on the onboarding webinar, is treat everyone as just curious. Right? When you do that, it allows you to be a lot more casual in your conversation, where you can approach them and be like, hey, I realize that you may or may not be ready to list right now. However, you seem to express interest in what home value is, and I'd love to just get that into your hands. Right. So you're not going into, hey, let's go list your home. It's like, hey, no, I understand. You're maybe just exploring this whole idea, right? I've been locked up in my house for so long that, I want a pool or, that sort of thing. So why are they curious? What is the motivating factor? How can we start building that relationship? Because that's the most important piece. It's not about going in and doing a transaction. It's about building that relationship, which will lead eventually to a transaction, right? But how can we connect? How can I understand you a little bit better? How can I serve you, right? What are your concerns? Some people are interested right now in just the value of their home simply because, they've heard something in the media that, the market's like all out of whack and it's, going to crash and there's a housing crisis or whatever, but you guys are the experts. So maybe you can serve them there where you're just going to be, hey, you might be wondering what the market is right now. Right? I'd love to provide you, a report if you're interested in what's going on, what's happening, right? I mean, most people I'm talking to right now, almost all markets are just insane. Multiple offers, there's no inventory. And so, you tell them that and they'll be like, oh, wow, right? If I can get multiple offers, this might be the time to sell.
I think it's trickier in a place like Toronto just because prices are ridiculous. And yes, there's not a lot on the market and there's multiple offers, but people are, even if they're interested, they're loath to do anything just because of the fear of, well, sure, I can sell my house for 1.5 million, but to get something comparable or just as nice, I can't afford to then go and rebuy, and then they're stuck to move into Ajax or Oshawa or Whitby, which nobody wants to do ever. No, just kidding.
I think that's all in your head, so don't worry about that.
Yeah.
I think everybody's going to move. They're going to want
True.
somewhere. So just don't get that stuck in your head. It's just
no. It's certainly not, it's something I think of, but no, it doesn't prevent me from moving forward and trying to do anything.
And you're still a little locked down in Ontario, right?
We just moved to phase 2.
Yeah, so you guys are slower.
We're just starting to wake up now. Yeah.
I don't even know what phase we're in. It's like 3, 4. I don't know. Yeah.
We're in phase 3 in BC.
Are we? Okay.
If Steve was living in Toronto, he'd drive the clients out to Ajax and sell them. Even Hickory. I know Steve.
That's awesome.
I heard someone else chiming in that I cut off. Did someone want to jump in there? No, so there are 2 things I think I want to pull out of this too. Is one, is there Canadian specific tools that you're using that are helping you out? And I know we've mentioned that, like, I don't know if you can confirm in the other provinces if you're using that same geo warehouse tool and have access to it. 2, you can get stuck on the mindset that I don't have all the tools that the US people have. So like, you get frustrated. At the end of the day, this is all about relationships. So if you don't have the tool, sometimes what happens is the tool becomes the vice, because you spend so much time trying to figure out how to use the tool that you don't have, that you waste time that's valuable building relationship and getting in contact with people. So sometimes we make it more complicated. That's a problem we see all the time in the US, because they have so many, and Leon talks about it all the time on the Masterminds, because they have so many options. You can cause a rabbit trail where you're just looking at all these different tools. You're using too many different tools and you're sporadically following up with people. Sometimes you just have to keep it simple. Sometimes you just have to focus on a couple things that stand out. So right away, number 1 is video. If you're not using video, you need to get video in your communications, because there's nothing that beats this. There's nothing that beats that contact. And number 2 is valuing that person's needs first. So re-looking at all your communication, even getting all your people to go into your funnel and subscribe to it and say, honestly, when you go through this, do I have salesman breath? Like, when you go through this, are you feeling like I'm putting you first and I'm trying to start a conversation? Or I want your honest feedback. Do you feel like I'm trying to get you to sell your home? So asking kind of those questions and having people go through your automations to see how you're coming off, because sometimes you don't pick it up. You don't realize the things that you're saying. So don't get so focused on all the tools that we don't have, because I seriously see it as a big distraction from some of our realtors in the US. And I don't know if I want peoplesearch.com. Have you looked at it? They always talk about peoplesearch.com, and I looked at it last week and went on. It's scary. Like, people in the US that I know, I found out where they live. Like I said, I know where you live. I know your name. I know your email. Like, their privacy laws are insane. Like I was surprised at what I could find. So don't get caught on the fact that we don't have the tool. You have less distractions. At the end of the day, how do you uniquely and creatively reach out to people so you stand apart from everyone else? How do you value the customer first and put them first to start the conversation? So sometimes we can get stuck on what we don't have. And actually, I think it's a bit of a blessing to work with that. So I see some people are chiming in on no geo warehouses in Alberta, no real estate tools available other than MLS manual systems, video, email, AutoProp in BC. Is everybody familiar with AutoProp?
I think every province has its own rules, right? So I think every province is going to have its own setup. I'm sure MLS in Ontario looks completely different from MLS in BC, right? So
no. Except here we have to pay to pull title to get a name.
Really?
Yeah.
I think in Ontario we have to pay if we want to actually get into the title and land registry. But if you want, like, I'm going to share my screen. I'll just, I don't know if I'm allowed to do that.
Just let me check.
Post disabled.
Oh, there you go.
Try.
You can give it a try now.
Okay. Share. So yeah, can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is our MLS. And so this was a listing I looked up earlier. And just right here, it says Geo Warehouse. And so when I click on that, it takes a couple seconds to load. But it helps me with the area. It'll show the area as well. So that gives me an idea of where to look and everything. But on load, there we go. So it brings it up. This shows the parcel of land where it's located, and then it gives me the owner's name. It gives me assessed value. Like I said, this is the tax value. So this number tends to be traditionally 100 to 150,000 less than what the market value would go for. But it brings up Google, so it gives you this. It's actually a really fascinating, really informative piece of information, and with all the demographics and everything. So yeah.
Awesome.
Do you guys know locatefamily.ca? Steve just put it up there.
It's .com.
.com. It's an incredible database.
Locatefamily.ca.
Yeah, they
.com.
actually have everybody indexed by postal code and phone number.
It's a postal code index.
It's a postal code index. It's brilliant. I wouldn't share it too much. Keep it to yourselves. It's that good.
Oh, cool. Yeah, and I think also what you have to remember is one thing the US doesn't have is the 15-mile radius stipulation that they're stuck with. So a lot of them, because they're in cities where, like, you think about Toronto, for example, people that are in New York, I mean, 15 miles throws them 4 hours worth of traffic over the bridge. So if you remember, your ads can be tweaked to get a little bit more specific, to focus your energy on places that are closer. Focus your energy on leads that are closer, as opposed to, running with that 15-mile default or 24-kilometer default. You can focus in a little bit more with your ad targeting, which means that the people that you have coming in are a little bit more relative. They're a little bit more close. So think about that too. If you haven't done much adjustment on your ad and you're getting a lot of people that are like out near the like fringes of where you're working, think about doing some retargeting and shrinking your circles.
What's the quickest way to do that? By putting coordinates in when you do the ad, or just
so when
kind of zooming in, or what is the quickest way to do that?
Yeah, so when you draw your address and you drop your PIN, you can toggle down that kilometers and 15 miles to a smaller area. I was working with someone in Ottawa, and like a big circle that he wanted to work would have put him over the border. So what we did was we put a couple different pins right along and made them like smaller circles so that he was situated around, not going over the border, and he was focusing on the areas he wanted to focus on.
So you suggest dropping a pin? Because I've just been putting Toronto in, and I haven't really been.
Well, yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like that one you just pulled up was Vaughan. Are you like downtown Toronto?
I'm for all intents and purposes. Yeah.
So Vaughan is a pretty good jaunt from you. I know
it's a good half an hour drive. Yeah.
Yeah. So you could focus and pull your circle in more. So you would put like your address where you're at right now and drop it from, it's 15 miles, switch it over to kilometers, and then drop it down to 10 kilometers and really pull that circle to match where you want to target. They can't do that in the US, and they're begging for it. They want it back. So you keep your HomeBot.
No, they have HomeBot. We get this. Sorry.
We get this. This is ours, and they're never going to get it.
Or the other nice thing that I liked about the focusing down is I'm actually focused on an area that I'm trying to get into as well, where that I haven't been able to get into, just because there's like older realtors that are more established in that area, and it's been like I know I'll break through. It's just a matter of, it's a higher price point area, and I know I can do the work that they can do. So it's just a matter of getting that foothold in that area.
Choosing to establish some influence over a certain area.
Yeah.
So and that's something they can't do.
I found that was awesome.
Yeah. So if you haven't done that, like the ad tweaks class, or even just a quick book-in with your coach, we can help you kind of tweak your ads to specify your area a bit more, because you still want to set up that 3 split test to land on the best audience, and you'll have to play around with it. The ad tweaks class, you can look at using some of the different templates too that might match in there as well. So remember that part of it too, because the US doesn't have that. So we can be more focused, us Canadians. For the US, they have too many glitzy tools that distract them from actually doing what matters, which is follow-up. And they have big, huge areas they have to learn how to influence and work with and refer out and deal with some of those out of area leads where it's going to come up still because people travel and put in different addresses, but we can focus in a little bit more and focus our attention and concentrate it a little bit more than the US can.
Question, quickly, what does HomeBot actually do? What are we?
It's a good one.
getting?
Well, HomeBot, it's basically you can put in somebody's address and then and their email, and it will spit out a report to that person, and it looks like it's a report that comes from you, and it gives an estimate of what their market value is. It's actually pretty accurate for most markets down there, and then it allows the lead to actually put in what their mortgage is, and then it'll spit out reports like if you were to double, change your mortgage payments, this is how much of your principal you can pay down, all that sort of thing. It does like very similar to almost a geo warehouse a little bit there. There's a lot of demographic reports and stuff like that. It also does things like if you were to Airbnb your home, what would it be worth? So it's a really nice looking report. And then what it also then does is it sends out that report every 4 to 5 weeks with updates. So that's kind of one of the nice things about it, is that they're getting dripped on with this nice market report all the time on their home. When I saw it, I was like, oh dang, I'd love to have that for my own home, just for myself.
Yeah. So what value could, think about a Canadian, what value, because that is the value, is that it drips on them. So how could you transfer that in Canada? Like what value could you drip on your leads across time that keeps you front of mind? Because that's the thing that realtors love about it in the States, is that it's sending them 4-week updates. They're opening them, they're clicking on them, and they're rarely unsubscribing for them. So what kind of value can we offer people that's dripping on them consistently over time? And that's the thing that's going to keep you top of mind. It's not that the people are reaching right out and saying, sell my home. It's that they're staying top of mind. And then 7 months later, they're like, I love that report you've been sending me. It's awesome. That's the value, is the follow-up of that system. So the lesson here is follow-up. How do we follow up and continue to offer value?
Do you guys, what kind of websites are you guys using for the follow-up? I've got a Real Geeks site. So, and then I heard that Top Producer also, you can do kind of, I think you can buy the add-on for Top Producer that gives you the for $19 a month, market update kind of thing, where it drips on them every month. Is that something anybody's using, or?
Can you see if they chime in? No. Maybe you drop something in their brain though, they're going to start looking at it.
Yeah.
I can see Dale's
I am.
wheels turning. He's like, I'm gonna go check that out.
What is it again? What do you use? What's it called?
Well, I've got Real Geeks, which is out of the States, right? So
okay.
It's an expensive, it's $2.99 US, and then just for
about 9,000 Canadian then.
Yeah,
a month.
2.5 million. But I think there's Top Producer has a $19 add-on that I think you can add on to any of your websites.
Okay.
I'm with Keller Williams, so we have
me too.
We have Command, so I think we can drip through Command, and set up sort of auto drips on kind of on their area and stuff like that. So a little bit extra work, but that's kind of where
Yeah, if you guys are doing any virtual CMAs, I'm just thinking because the call is coming to an end and I know I'm jumping on another call quickly, but feel free to share that in terms of Canadian content in the insider group. Like, this is what I'm doing for my Canadian CMA, and kind of share your content if you're walking through a video like that. If you haven't done one, I'd encourage you coming out of this. That's a good application of this time, is to share your screen and be able to walk people through a virtual CMA, and one that's time sensitive. That's not you're spending a ton of, but creates conversation. Because if I open an email, I tell you, if my home, I do the same thing when I reach out to people here. If I'm going to send them a video that does an account review, I pull up their Facebook page. So it's a picture of them in the email so that they see their Facebook page when they open it. So they're like, oh, this is specialized to me. This is not just, we're so used to and conditioned to getting generic emails that we so quickly dismiss something with a blink of an eye. We're living in the attention economy. So you got to learn how to grab people's attention. And how do you do that? How about a selfie? Have you heard about selfies? How about a selfie of your house? Like, when you show me a picture of me, you show me a picture of my house, you show me a picture, don't show me a picture of my kids. I'll hunt you down, find out why you have a picture of my kids. But if you show me something that's value to me, I'm watching it. So that's, you grabbed my attention. And it's all about how do you grab someone's attention in the blink of an eye? Because our attention span is less than the goldfish right now.
I think if we start taking selfies in front of strangers' houses and sending it to them, that's certainly going to
Troy, that happened to
get their
Troy.
attention, and it's going to get the attention of the RCMP. So
Yes,
true.
Yeah,
it's a true story. Somebody has done that.
selfie,
you can use the Google. You can Google it. I put it in the letter.
Yeah.
Pictures are home from Google, and yeah, when they
Google's
open it,
already done that.
and then just Photoshop your face into their lawn.
Yeah. In their house.
With
Behind
the
their
little
blinds.
signs.
Yeah.
You haven't invited, that'll sure get you attention. I don't know about the right attention, but
It's called a restraining order. Yeah.
Yeah. Troy's seen that. Somebody took something in front of their house. Like, I was looking at your house today.
Yeah, we recommended against that for sure.
Put it in the do not do file.
Yeah.
We should actually have that file. Don't do this. Don't do this. Don't do
Yeah,
this.
that actually would be helpful. You know, you learn a lot from what not to do, right?
Yeah. We got dinosaurs in the back.
Awesome, guys. Thanks for this. This was a good little session. So
If it's possible, I know that the generic StreetText meetings are very frequent and, you know, daily. But I found this one informative. It's like, you know, if there's something to do a little more regular Canadian content, I know that's more beneficial to me personally than being the only Canadian in a group of Americans talking about what's specific to America. So thank you for this. And if we're able to do that again, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll pull it all together. Don't lose sight of those conversion classes though, like the Facebook 101 class, because there's a lot of value in that. But yeah, we totally get it. That's why we threw this first one together. And literally we kind of just threw it on the schedule close to Canada Day. In the future, like as we put one together, we'll try to get more people to show up, because really we're learning from you guys out in the field doing this every day. And the more we can share from people who are on the ground doing it, the better off we'll all be as Canadians. So awesome. Glad to talk to you all. We'll do it again soon. Post your little, like your learnings, put them on our insider group. Let's flood it with Canadian content. Stop sitting back and going, oh, look at all them with their home bot, blah, blah, and getting resentful. Just say, hey, we're Canadian. We're proud. We're your red, white, and go on there and show your stuff off too. How we do things. And we're polite here, so people feel obligated to reply to us.
thanks a lot, guys.
No
Okay.
problem.
Thanks, guys.
Happy Canada Day.
Happy Canada Day.
Yes, you
Bye.
too.